Hello, Pastor Nathan of Grace Lutheran Church here with the sermon that was preached on Easter Sunday, April 20th, 2025. If you want the video of me reading the readings that the sermon is based on, you can find that link somewhere in the description, as well as the bulletin and the link for the bulletin and the link for the live streamed service that the sermon came from, the service for Easter Sunday. So you can find all those links somewhere in the description, depending on where you're viewing this from. But before we begin, let's have a word of prayer. God of hope and new life, send your Spirit to shine on us the light of this day, that the stone blocking us from seeing the risen Christ be removed and our hearts be opened to hear you, see you, and feel you loving us in this changing world through Jesus Christ. Amen. I can't believe that it's Easter already. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not upset about it or anything. I mean, of course not. Who could be upset during such a joyous but extremely busy and stressful time like Easter? Not I, that's for sure. And it'll be even better tomorrow when today is over. I mean, seriously though, what I mean is that that time seems to be just flying by. Yeah, I know that Easter is on a different day every year, but it really feels like we just celebrated it. And now we're at it again. I mean, heck, we're already a quarter of the way through 2025. But to me, it feels like we just started 2024. It's like time is going at an uncomfortable and an alarming rate, at least for me. And admittedly, it's kind of weird. I remember having time to enjoy the holidays. I remember looking forward to the days like Easter that would take forever to come. And when they were finally here, I was able to actually revel in the moment of the day. I remember feeling lost in this sea of time that never seemed to run out. Until it did, that is. And I guess that makes sense. As we know, the older we get, the faster time seems to go. I mean, don't let all of this youthfulness fool you. I'm no spring chicken. The longer we live, the more we experience. The more we experience, the more memories we'll make that are worthy of holding on to and cherishing. And the more warm and feel-good memories we have, well, we just might be more resistant to change. We might not go full-blown live only in the past and label anything new or innovative or different as bad or evil per se. But we might take a few more steps to keep things roughly the same. I can think of a few examples of this throughout my own life. Like when I was a kid, I remember I couldn't stand it when the radio played a song that was more than a year or two old. Now, I don't even want to listen to music that was made later than like 2006. When I was a teenager, I had to have an entirely new wardrobe at the start of every school year. Now, I don't even want to tell you when I bought this clerical shirt because I don't remember. It was so long ago. When I was in my 20s, I was super embarrassed to drive a 10-year-old car. Now, my car is like 15 years old and I still think it's the coolest in the lot. Then when I was in my 30s, I remember thinking that it would be awesome if the seminary where I trained to be all this that you see before you today would move to a newer and more user-friendly building. And now, I learned that their building is set to be demolished, and I find myself saddened at the thought. Change, you see, is inevitable. Love it or not, it happens. Resist and push back as hard as you want, it won't be stopped. Deny it even, and we'll just end up disappointed. Now, I'm not talking about a change in vocation, my vocation, or anything like that, in case you were wondering or hoping. But I'm talking about just the natural changes that happen in our surroundings and society throughout time. I'm talking about our bodies not being able to do the things that they once were able to do. I'm talking about how the good old days are just gone and aren't coming back. At least, not in the same exact way. This dread or resistance and perhaps even a bit of fear toward change is present even in our Easter story, isn't it? I mean, during the Passion story, of course, we see that, but also in the resurrection account, especially the part that we get out of Luke for today. See, Jesus' friends were rightfully distraught over their loss. They're still very shaken up by how their world had just fallen apart. Perhaps they were feeling a little disappointed in themselves for not having been able to stop it all from taking place. And then what happens? Some of the most trusted and respected women of their group uncharacteristically tell them this idle tale of an empty tomb and two men dressed in dazzling white telling them that Jesus is risen. I mean, that has to be an idle tale, right? There's no way what they said happened could have actually happened in the way they said it happened, right? It can't be. It's implausible. They just couldn't believe it. I mean, no one could. I mean, they're still reeling from the events of the past few days. They aren't ready for more change. Not now. Maybe not ever, but certainly not now. But impetuous Peter jumps up and runs this undetermined distance to verify the idle tale and found that it was actually no idle tale at all. It was true. The tomb was empty. The corpse was not there. Things yet again are changing. And it feels like it's just too much. And I know we'll never face a situation exactly like this. I mean, if we hear of a loved one's body missing, we'd likely not run to the tomb to check it out. But even if we did and verified it to be true, we probably wouldn't just go home and be amazed. We'd probably call the cops. But we probably have felt like we were at the end of our ropes before. We've likely felt distressed, distraught, and disillusioned at some point in our lives. We all have, if you're anything like me, wish that time would just slow down and that things would just go back to how they were when they were good. And then perhaps a sting of disappointment when we come to grips with the fact that those days are just gone. Maybe you had this feeling with the loss of a loved one due to a death or a relocation or the end of a relationship. Maybe it was a mistake that you made that altered the trajectory of your life, and you're filled with regret and remorse. Maybe it's just in stepping back and taking a long, hard look at this broken world, full of hate and greed, with people pointing fingers and hurling accusations and insults harder than you have ever witnessed before. You know, whatever it is that made us feel this way, know that you aren't alone. We've all been there. Maybe some of us are there now. Perhaps not in the same exact way or exact circumstance, but in those same emotions, those same hurts, that same distaste for change. But at the same time, while we've all felt that same pain and the change that happens, that is out of our control, so are we given the joy of resurrection. Mind you, resurrection doesn't mean that our loved ones come back to life, but it does mean that we can see how they live on in us, who we are, and the community around us. Resurrection doesn't mean that we get a redo of all our mistakes and that their consequences are wiped away, but it does mean that even in the shame, we can find reconciliation and restoration. Resurrection doesn't mean that we can or should relive the good old days. But it does mean that these days, although different and changing at an alarming rate, don't have to be all that bad, but can still be good. I mean, they can be good because we can still see how we're blessed in them. They will be good because we can see how our lives are actually full of relationship and love. They are good because these are the days that God has made. And by God's grace, we can rejoice and be glad in them. See, resurrection isn't necessarily about bringing someone back from the dead, but it's about injecting life into the places where it may have seemed that there was only death. So even in our hurts, even in our disappointments, even in the change, there is life. Life that we're blessed by God, life that joins us with each other in community and relationship, life that reveals to us that we are worth it and we are loved. Life that truly is life. And this, to me, is the point of the Easter story, that while we might feel buried under our troubles, our stresses, our unwanted changes, the stone that was holding us in is rolled away, freeing us to be God's people in the world, full of life, full of love, full of resurrection. So on this Easter Sunday and this Easter season and beyond, may we always see the joy and blessing in each and every day that God has created and given to us. That we might be glad in embracing the grace and mercy that draws us to God, to each other, and to the empty cross that reminds us of who we are as God's people. Thanks and praise be to God. Alleluia. Amen.